Okay, good evening, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Just want to welcome everybody here. Let me know if you guys can hear my audio and see my screen in the chat box. Just give me a little Y or a yes there, just to let me know that it is indeed working. Hope everybody's had a fantastic evening so far. Looking forward to our COT report webinar tonight. Love our COT report webinar. We do this every week. Just want to help everybody know what the COT report is, how it works, and what we are currently doing with it on the scanner. What a great week we're having with the COT data. Obviously, the signals on the scanner, we took 12 trades. 10 of the 12 trades are doing fantastic right now. We're up a bunch, led by, in fact, I've got this on my other screen here, led by the pound CAD and NZD CAD, just amazing right now, up a ton. We're going to go look at those trades. We'll also look at some of the other ones that we've got open: NZD dollar, pound dollar, Euro CAD, Aussie Kiwi, all looking great this week. So excited to look at those trades, why the scanner is doing so well, and like how it works. Let's go underneath the hood. Let's take a look at it. Before we get started, as always, need to remind you guys about the risks involved in this market. You can lose all or more than your initial investment if you're not careful. So please be aware of how many pips you're risking on each trade, in addition to how big your lot size is and ultimately how that would affect your account if you were to lose money. So make sure that you're going through that process each and every time that you take a trade. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this. First of all, I just kind of want to explain what the COT report is, just real briefly. So the COT report comes from the CFTC. This is a free publication that we get from the government, okay, from the United States government. This is a financial regulatory authority, and they release the COT data, and you can get it right here on this ribbon. You just come down, click on Commitment of Traders, and these are all different types of COT reports that you can look at. All of these right here, all of this right here, and all of these are different COT reports. The most common COT report that we use is this CME report from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And it's the short format. This is basically what a COT report looks like. In fact, not basically, this is a COT report. So let me pull up something like the euro. Okay, so if I type in Control F here, I can find the euro real quickly. Here it is. So here's the euro. This is basically isolating just the euro. It doesn't look at the euro dollar. This is not looking at the euro against the Aussie or euro against yen. This is just the euro. And it's basically what the banks here in the United States are buying and selling on this particular currency. So right here, you can see the banks have 184,000 contracts long versus their 127,000 contracts short. So they are generally buying the euro right now. Now, the thing that's probably the most important thing to look at is not necessarily where they are, it's where they're going is the most important question to answer. And you can find that right here. So this last week, between the last COT report, which they give them every week on Fridays. So you've got this one that just came out last Friday and the one that came out before. So this is comparing the two. So between the two, in 1 week, the banks have added 2,082 contracts long, and they've decreased their shorts by 14,015. Okay. So they're definitely getting rid of shorts and they're increasing longs, mostly getting rid of shorts, which is interesting. So these are the kinds of things we have to pay attention to, because if they're really big shifts, we got to pay attention to that, because we want to be at the cutting edge of what the banks are trying to do next, right? And that's what the scanner does, right? So let's jump to that. We don't need to spend too much time here. If you're ever interested, I could coach you one-on-one and we could talk about, how I come up with these numbers and how I put it into the scanner. But let's go to the website here. And the scanner basically looks at all this data, right? So we built Steve Scanner to, put this, well, put all this data together. We look at the shift in data. We look at the long-term COT report signal. We look at the crowded market alerter, right? Like it's all here on Steve Scanner. Okay. So the overall signal is probably the most important thing on Steve Scanner, because the overall signal basically takes a footprint, not a footprint, looks at all the metrics of That's on the scanner. So we have what's called the 5 week shift in COT data, the 3 week shift in COT data, the long-term footprint, sentiment, and the crowded market indicator. All of this accumulates together and we get a subsequent overall signal. Okay, so these are usually going to be your best trades that you could possibly take during the week. This week in particular has been an exceptional week, right? Pretty much every single trade the scanner called out this week has been top tier, elite type signals. And we've been getting better and better at what signals to take. So basically, since the COT data comes out on the weekends on Fridays, I update the scanner on Saturday and Sunday. It takes me like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I put it all together. And then we send out, and basically the scanner's updated and you've got the signals for the week. Okay. And so we have here, like this week, we have 12 different Forex pair signals. And like I said, I think everything is positive except the only one that lost for me was the Aussie franc and Aussie yen. Everything else is positive, like Aussie CAD's super up, Euro CAD's up. Let's see, Pound CAD is super up right now. NZD CAD is super up. In fact, let's go take a look at some of these. So let's pull up like the Pound CAD as an example. Um, and let's go to the current price of the market, wherever that is, right here. Oh yeah, here we go. So, and then let's also go look at the weekend indicator right here, so you guys can see the beginning of the week. So here's the beginning of the week in this yellow area. That's Sunday. That's when the signal came out. Okay, so the signal was what again? It was a strong buy, right? That was the overall. And why did it give us that? Because well, it says several reasons actually. The pound CAD has a 5 week positive shift, very positive. It's 38.42%. What that basically means is that the banks bought 38.42%. They've increased their positions over 5 weeks to the tune of 38.42%, which is huge for banks, right? For you and me, like I probably didn't even own any pound CAD 5 weeks ago, right? Right. But for the banks, when they own everything, right? They own all the currencies. And so when we don't buy and sell currencies, they have them, right? So for them to increase their positions by 38.42% is a pretty big deal. We got to pay attention to this kind of stuff. Same thing over here on the 3 week shift. This is probably even more significant. Over the last 3 weeks, the banks have increased their positions by 40.16%. That's huge. And so that's why that's a strong buy right there. And then you've got the long-term footprint indicating that the banks are also buying. And then you have sentiment indicating a strong buy right now because retail traders have piled into shorts. And when they pile into shorts, we're going to issue a strong buy. We're going to go against what most retail traders are doing. Okay. So that's why we're buying the pound CAD right now. And so you got pretty much everything on here just saying buy, 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 buy. There's practically nothing there. In fact, there is nothing there that says sell. Okay, so everything is just kind of like, yep, coast is clear, go ahead and do it, right? So, and then yeah, you can see here from the beginning of the week, this is when the signal came out to buy the pound CAD, and this is where it is now. I mean, that is a total of approximately 150 plus pips, right? 150 pips, and it's just Wednesday. So in 3 days, that's gone up 150 pips from the initial signal, right? And that's just one of many trades. I mean, we could look at another one like the NZD CAD. That's a strong buy. What's going on here? It's basically a duplicate signal. You've got the 5 week shift, very positive. You've got the 3 week shift, very positive. The long-term footprint says buy. The sentiment signal says strong buy. Again, everything that would be a check and balance on the scanner is just like flash and buy right now. Flash and buy, right? So now we go to the NZD CAD, we look at it, and you come over here and like this thing is just off the charts. Kind of amazing to see it actually just go up like it's doing from the beginning of the week. Here's the beginning of the week. Here it is now. And that's a total of how many pips is this? This is holy smokes. Like that's 100 on a pair like this. 115 pips is huge.
Hey traders, it's Steve from the future.
I hope you have enjoyed this video so far. If you are getting value out of this video, be sure to hit the like button, click the subscribe button, and share your trading thoughts. I read all the comments, so feel free to ask any questions you have there too. On a side note, I host live trading calls like this one you are watching every day. Some of my biggest trading secrets I share exclusively to just the members in my program. I host these live trading calls every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. I also host a basic training webinar every Monday for the newer traders and the regular COT report and sentiment trading webinars every Wednesday night at 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern for the advanced and aspiring traders. All of these calls are recorded and promptly posted on the members' trading calendars at the conclusion of each call in case your schedule does not permit you to come to the live call. All of my members have complete access to the scanner. We call it Steve Scanner. This is an institutional grade trade alert scanner that picks the direction of the week on all 28 major currency pairs and includes trading instruments like gold, silver, NAS 100, US 30. Just in the last 90 days, I have made over 3,000 pips just taking the top trade signals from the scanner at the beginning of the week and then just holding those trade alerts until Friday. If you want access to the scanner, you can start a 14-day free trial with the join link in the description to get started. Lastly, if you really want to be a full-fledged VIP member of my program to get access to things like the basic training course, live signals channel, Steve's scanner, trading calendars, and the one-on-one calls with me throughout the month, you can use code YouTube50, that's YouTube50, no spaces at checkout, and save $50 on your first month. Again, just click the link in the description below and apply that coupon to become a VIP member, and I look forward to helping you with your inevitable trading success going forward. Now, back to the video. This is a pair that has a smaller ADR, generally speaking. Okay, like the ADR on the NZD CAD, in fact, you can see it on the scanner. I provide it. It's 56 pips. Okay, so that's the average daily range is 56 pips. And for this to be up a cumulative 115 pips in 3 days is actually remarkable. That's a huge move. And it really hasn't had a lot of pullbacks. It's just been up, 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 up. And just every day it's a little bit more up, which is kind of crazy. And then you got other ones. We'll look at maybe one or two more. You've got the New Zealand dollar that's also up this week, I believe. I'm taking a little bit of a shot into the dark here. I believe that's up this week. It's a strong buy. Yeah, here it is. So here's the beginning of the week right here in the yellow area. Right, that's the beginning of the week. Somewhere in there in yellow. And wherever you bought at the beginning of the week, this is just up. I mean, it just keeps going up, right? So kind of amazing, right? Just amazing to see, like how awesome this is, like to see what the banks are doing and then to see it just take off like this, right? So let me show you guys the best way to use the scanner, in my opinion. So you obviously have these weekly signals. Okay, this is a very passive approach to the scanner. Okay, you're gonna get these weekly signals. You're gonna get anywhere between like 6 and 12 trades a week that you can take that are strong buys and strong sells. Most weeks they're gonna be successful. On occasion, the scanner is gonna get it wrong. And when I say on occasion, it's frequent. Like it's not like you're gonna have maybe 1.5 weeks a month where the scanner just gets it totally wrong. Okay. I've had weeks like that. We've had weeks like that in the past where the scanner just gets, and why does that happen? The reason why is because sometimes the banks, they build positions out. They'll take a week or two while they build a position and they'll even send the market the wrong way of what they want to do. And so we don't get privy to that information. Like we don't know when that's going to be. And so sometimes we'll get succumbed to the wrong direction. And what I've determined to do when we get caught in the wrong direction, which this week's hasn't been an issue. Obviously, we're winning. Everything's just winning this week. But like when we get caught in the wrong direction, my determination and my game plan with everybody in the group is to cut it off. Just like if you have a losing week, Is so long as you've put in your average daily range stop loss and you've used a lot size calculator correctly, just cut it off and let's move on to the next week. To me, that's the best thing that you can do on those kinds of weeks. So this is very passive and it's a very, to me, it's a very successful, um, like it's one of the most successful things that I think you can do in the markets. Um, is just trade the weekly trades. That's it. Just take the weeklies and that's it. Now, if you really want to take this a step further, like this is for the really ambitious trader. Here's where I think the money is really made. This is, and it's really lit. Like our price action signals over the last, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like over the last month and a half, our price action signals have just been so much better. So why is that? Like, why are the price action signals getting so much better over the last month and a half? Like, we've just called some really excellent trades. So what gives? Like, why are things getting better that way? And I think it's a couple of things. Basically, what we do is we're more active at finding out what the banks are truly buying. So when you filter this here, like for example, if I filter this 3 week shift by the top signals, this is going to give me just the signals that the banks are absolutely buying and selling right now over the last 3 weeks. So these are the currency pairs that float to the very top here. And if I even filter this by biggest shifts, these are the ones that the banks are probably really pushing at the moment. Okay. And if I filter this the other way, you can see the negative shifts. There's not as many negatives right now. There's mostly positive shifts. So you could look at each one of these currency pairs one by the biggest shifts starting first. Just go and look at the biggest shifts. And and then so long as you understand like basic price action principles like break a structure, finding liquidity zones, looking for uh, supply demand. If you know how to do some of that, you'll be good. If you're familiar with chart patterns, like looking for head and shoulders, if you're familiar with the cup and handle, flags, pennants, those kinds of things. If you combine the COT data with that, it makes it really successful. Let me tell you something. So about 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago now, I learned this is when I started to trade. Started trading about 12 years ago, but it was about like into year two or year three of my trading journey where I learned about patterns. And so patterns are basically, like I said, head and shoulders, flags. It's just technical analysis on a chart. And I basically was just trying to trade only technical analysis. And my favorite patterns would be like the pennant or the flag. And anytime I saw a pennant or a flag, I would just trade it. And I eventually learned that that had very inconsistent results. Like sometimes I'd win just fine and sometimes I'd lose, and it just wasn't consistent enough. So I was like, okay, how do I get this better? And the market, if you think about it, it's pretty random in nature. Like a lot of stuff just doesn't work, okay? Because the market is just so gosh darn random. So how do you defeat that randomness of the market? And what I've figured out was if you can take the bank data, what they're doing on the scanner, like, as far as the COT data goes on the scanner, if you know what they're trying to buy, and then you take those patterns, like for example, if you like we saw like on the pound Aussie a couple days ago, it had a nice reverse head and shoulders setup on a 15-minute or an hourly time frame. We'll go take a look at it in just a second. And obviously that's going to be a bullish signal, but you don't want to just buy it because of the pattern only, but because the COT data told us, and you're going to see that here in just a second, that the banks have been buying it for the last 3 weeks. I'm a lot more prone to want to buy it because I know that the banks have an interest in it. If the banks aren't interested in it, I don't want to buy it, right? That's basically the idea. So you're combining your technical knowledge, your technical headspace, and taking what the banks are doing and you're merging them or marrying them together. That to me is like where, like, if you want to be an active trader, to me, that's where you're going to make probably the most money. Um, Especially in the long term, because it takes a little bit more nimbleness and like more knowledge. But once you can kind of put the two together, I think that's where the real money's made. Now, with that said, you can absolutely make plenty of money. Like we're doing great this week with those weekly trades. You can just take the weeklies and do nothing else. Those are great. You can also, like we just taught an overnight strategy an hour ago. That's a great little strategy, great strategy to trade. Um, but I think if you want to be like an actual trading, trader, when we talk about what a trader is like, somebody who hunts for opportunity, is seeking blood in the markets, this is that guy, right? Like if you're that person, I think this is probably what you're after. So let's look at like the pound Aussie. So if you, in fact, in the scanner, you can search by individual currencies. So if you look at the pound Aussie, you can see over the last 3 weeks, the banks have been buying it pretty heavily. It's got a 20.13% positive shift. What that means is that the banks have increased their positions on the pound Aussie by 20.13% over 3 weeks. And when you're talking about a global currency pair, um, where the banks in just 3 weeks have increased their positions by 20%, that's actually a big deal. That may not feel like a big deal to an individual trader like myself or you, but as a bank, that's big. So usually, I'll just kind of give you a general idea. If you see a shift over 15% over 3 weeks, um, I believe that's the threshold on the scanner when I programmed it. If it's over 15%, it issues a strong buy in the 3 week column. Okay. And why the 3 week? Again, why the 3 week over like the 5 week or the long term or sentiment? Like, why do I like the 3 week so much? The reason why is because usually these banks, they're going to basically give away to you. They're going to tell you and me like what they're actually buying over a 2 or 3 week period. So they don't usually buy everything they plan to buy in just 1 week. It usually takes them 2, 3, or 4 weeks to buy something. And if you can see that happen in real time on the scanner, if you can see their change in direction and their shift on that 3 week shift, then you know that that's a currency pair you can probably take to the bank because quite literally the banks have bought it. And and from there it's just a matter of doing solid analysis. Okay. All right. So with that said, 20.13%. So that's positive. So that should lead to anybody looking at this should be like, maybe I should look for buys on the pound Aussie right now. So if we go look at the pound Aussie on like the charts, let's go look at this. Um, it's down right now, obviously. Like it's having a down moment on the 15-minute chart, which actually might be good. That might be an opportunity for us to buy. Um, couple days ago, this is where the market was. So this is on Sunday right here. Um, and actually, if you look at this from a more macro perspective, the banks started to buy over here 3 weeks ago. This is where they started to buy. And they bought again right here 2 weeks ago. And a week ago, they bought a bunch. They actually bought a bunch right here. So it does make me wonder if we're going to see that move to the upside still. Um, yeah, it does make me wonder if there's still more to go. Obviously, like I said, right now at the current moment, we're seeing a pullback, but um, we could see this rally to the upside. I have a buy stop up here right now. We'll talk about that later. I actually posted this in the live trading call this morning. We do have a buy stop up here. We'll see if that triggers later. Okay, so let's continue on here. So as we look at this, um, um, so we've had a couple of major breaks of structures right here. So you had this big break of structure right here on this hourly time frame, and then over the weekend actually and into Monday, this broke structure. And so for me, when I look at this and I know that the banks are buying this, and I see this break happen in real time right here, this is the kind of stuff that I pay attention to. I'm like, I wonder if that's going to start to break up, right? And actually, as this continues along here, it formed a reverse head and shoulders. So look at this on the 15-minute chart. It had this really nice head and shoulders, reverse head and shoulders. So this is a pattern. Like this is something that retail traders are taught to look for. It's something I've been taught to look for. But what I've learned over time is you don't want to just trust the pattern alone. If you can combine that pattern with the COT data, then you have a much better chance of being successful. Okay, so this would probably be a clear indication to buy. And then, as you guys know, as this continued on here this week, it did in fact rally out of here big time. Like it made a pretty nice little rally. Now it's actually starting to come back. Let's see, I think it went up one more time. Yeah, it went up this morning and now it's coming down again right to here. Okay, and this is where we are currently. So we'll see. I think this could actually have some pretty good buying opportunities soon. Um, Not necessarily at the current price, but there are some areas I'm looking at like down in here that could have some really good buying opportunities. So yeah, so basically that's what I'm looking for. If we got a pattern out of this, like if we formed another reverse head and shoulders inside of here, I'd be really excited to buy this because I know that the banks have been buying this and probably are going to continue to buy this. Um, if this forms like another break of structure, let's say it comes down to here into this zone, bounces off this trend line, and starts to break structure again to the upside, that's going to get me excited about the buy, right? That's actually one of the reasons why this morning I actually placed a buy stop up here because I felt as if this market wants to break up, it will probably continue up. So it is a little bit surprising to see it pull back right here. I think it's honestly just trying to navigate back to this trend line. I think it's just trying to get back. Um, yeah, so here's the trend line right here. I think it's going to try to come back to this trend line and then we'll probably see some kind of move to the upside. In fact, wow, now that I just noticed this, this could actually form um, I didn't notice this before. So you have this reverse head and shoulders right here. Looks like we could form easily another head and shoulders, a reverse one right here. This would be your head right here. This is your shoulder. And then you have a potential shoulder to form right here along the trend line, like right here. So if this market came down, hit the trend line, as soon as it does that, it's now made a head and shoulders, a reverse head and shoulders. And my suspicion is that that's going to rally out of there. Okay, that's what I expect because I know that the banks are buying this, and so I expect this to continue. Um, yeah, I'm kind of expecting this to continue to the upside. Um, but however, I'll change my mind though if this breaks through this trend line. Like if this comes all the way down and busts that trend line, I'm no longer going to like this currency pair and I'm going to move on to something else. Right. So the scanner is going to give you tons of signals. Like you're going to get so many opportunities to look for different trades, different setups. And if the scanner isn't giving you what you're looking for on one currency pair, then feel free to don't marry it, like move on. But at the moment, I'm pretty excited about this because we are breaking structures to the upside on this macro time frame, on this 15-minute and hourly. We're breaking up. We are forming patterns which suggest more bullish activity to come. The next major supply area really isn't even until up into this area up here. And so, if I go back to the higher time frame, this is where the next major supply area is. It's all the way up here. So I think that we could definitely get out of here. We just need to see this trend line hold. And then if we form more breaks of structures to the upside, I'm going to get even more excited about adding to this trade. Okay. This is one example. Let's go find another one. So when you're looking at the scanner again, you can filter this. You can also use the COT scanner, which I have found sometimes is easier, which is also on the website here. You just go to members, click on COT scanner, and then you can search by the 3-week shifts. And so you got your top ones right here. You got the pound CAD, pound yen, NZD CAD, and so on. You got plenty of things to look at. Does anybody have any requests? I'm just curious if there's any requests. If not, I'll just look through a couple of these. But like, let's look at the pound CAD. That's number one. It's got a huge shift over the last 3 weeks. Okay. Let's go pound CAD and let's find, yep, there it is right there. Okay, so this is one that we've been buying. It's obviously doing great this week, and I wonder if this is done. I'm not sure yet because one of the things we talked about this morning is the pound CAD is actually coming up on a major supply area, which is over. You have to go back pretty far distance actually. Gosh, maybe I'll have to do this on a higher time frame. Yeah, I have to do this on like a 3 hour or something. Yeah, let's go back. So if you go back here, yep, here it is. So the last time the pound CAD was in this area, you have to go back to 2021. And you can see that there's a lot of supply kind of nestled throughout here, 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 and here. So the last time the market was in this area, it pulled back hard. And so this one is actually one where I think the banks are starting to get exhausted. So this is the kind of stuff you got to pay attention to, right? Like you don't want to just buy into something just because, oh, the banks have been buying. Well, yeah, they've been buying. They've had their way with this. If they haven't had their way yet, that could be a huge opportunity. But with this one, the banks have been buying for like 3 weeks straight. So since like down here is when they started to buy, and they've just been up and up and up and up and up. So you got to be careful sometimes with these not to get overzealous with following the banks, because if you missed most of the move that the banks were doing, then you might be a little late on some of these. So I like to find ones where uh, either one of two things. Either the banks have not had their way with the market yet, and they're in fact losing money. That's one. Or two, the banks have made a little bit of money over the last couple of weeks in the direction they want to go, but clearly there's room to grow. Like there's no supply. Like if you know you're going to buy and it's a buy signal and there's clearly no supply in the area, then there's a really good chance you're going to continue to the upside. This is different because with the pound CAD, we've made a lot of money this week on the pound CAD buying this, but we are getting very close to a major supply zone. And not only that, it's even a psychological level. The pound CAD is it's at 175 currently. So 175 is a whole number. It's a what we call a round number, a whole number. It's a psychological zone. So this could be very close to the top, right? So this is the kind of stuff I'm looking for when I'm trying to decide if I should continue to buy something or sell something. Because when I look at this, I'm like, okay, yep, that's what I should be buying is because the pound CAD has this huge buy, but you have to kind of marry the two, right? Let's try to find one where the banks haven't gone in the direction. Okay, let's actually. Does anyone have one off the top of their head? I just know a lot of these the banks have been making like the obviously the weekly signals are doing great this week, and that's due in large part because of the weekly signals are doing great, and I think it's because um, it's following what the banks are buying and selling. Obviously, I think one that the banks haven't made a lot of money on yet is like is it the Aussie yen? No, or it could be that one. I think it's the Aussie franc. Let me look at that one. Let me search that right here. So Aussie franc. So it's had a positive shift over the last 2 weeks. Um, yeah, decent buying activity over the last 2 weeks. Let's go look at the Aussie franc. I think it's down this week. I could be wrong. Um, yeah, it's down. Okay, so they've been buying for the last 2 weeks here. So this could actually be an opportunity. Let's go down to the smaller time frame and let's see if the banks are losing money on this trade. So let's go to a weekend. Yep, they're losing money. So how do we know this? So the banks are losing money here because again, when you look at the COT scanner, last week they bought nearly 10% increase. Over the last 2 weeks, they bought 22.52%. Over the last 3 weeks, it's not as positive. So we know that most of this buying pressure came just in the last 2 weeks. Okay. So they bought over the last 2 weeks. And if you go back to the chart, Last week it was right here, and the week before that the market was right here. So they're losing money. The banks are definitely down on this trade right now. Okay. So this is the kind of stuff I would look for breaks of structures. For example, right here on the Aussie franc, we actually just recently today, right now, just broke this structure right here. We're starting to break this little structure, right? That's on an hourly time frame. This is something to pay attention to, right? Like you've got a really nice little wick right here too. Maybe we're starting to break to the upside. I'm not saying that we are. I'm just trying to let you know, like, hey, there's a chance that this pair could be due for a move to the upside if that is in fact the case and the banks are losing money here. Okay. Um, I would probably try to like, probably like to see if there's other patterns as well that we could work off of. This isn't my favorite pair. I think I mentioned that this morning. Um, but we do know that the banks bought a bunch of currency up in this area. Let's kind of label that. They bought up here. And so if the banks want to recover their loss on those buys that they put up there, they're going to need this market to go back up to like here in order for them to recover. So it will be interesting to see if the banks do in fact get the Aussie franc back up to there, because that's the only way they're going to make money is if they can get that back up, because they have suspended or not suspended, but they have losers that are stacked up there. Let me see if I can find another one that looks really good right now, because I'd actually like to find a trade I can take tonight if I can. Um, Problem is just so many trades have done well that a lot of the opportunities kind of already come and gone with a lot of these. Um, okay, let's do. Okay, we got this pound franc. It's pretty positive over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I'm curious to see where it stacks up. Okay, this one's actually down over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, this is good to see. All right. Alrighty. So let's pull up that weekend. Yep, last couple of weeks, this is down. It was up pretty big. Now it's down pretty big. So, yeah, it does make me wonder if we're getting close to, um, some kind of demand that could be used to send this right back up. So this market actually did have a pretty good move up today. It pulled back into here, got really close to this demand, and it started to come back up. Um, so the question for me is like, what's next on this? And so I would draw out like, okay, it's right here. We got a trend line. Okay, that's clearly a trend line. And if this trend line breaks to the upside, it's go time. It's definitely go time on the pound franc, because we know that the banks have been buying, right, over the last couple of weeks, and they're probably losing on those trades. So if this trend line, this structure breaks to the upside, um, it's definitely time to start buying. In fact, it might not even be a bad idea to put like a buy stop above this apex, not ape, it's not an apex, just this previous high right there. That could actually not be a bad trade necessarily. You could also just put an alert there. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to add an alert, just so that if this goes off, I'd like to find out if I'd like to be alerted when that happens. Um, so I'd be looking for stuff like that. So I hate to buy it yet, right? Why do I want to buy it right now? Because it's still coming down, right? If there's clearly something going on here that's not quite right at the moment, it might be resolved in a week. It might be resolved in a couple of days. So when it's resolved, I'm ready to go. But I don't want to see. This is a big problem with COT report trading. Is a lot of people try to jump into stuff before it's ripe, right? And so for me, what I'd like to be aware of this. Be aware that the banks are losing some money. That's step number one. And then number two is to know when to strike, right? So you got to draw some of these things out, like set alerts, or just make it part of your routine, make a notepad of the trades you're watching, come back the next day and see which ones have taken off or which ones have not. So this is definitely one. Yeah, if it breaks this trend line, it is time. It is definitely go time. Um, um, it's definitely go time. In fact, can this actually let me set an alert on this arrow? Um, Yeah, it says crossing arrow, create alert. Very cool. So yeah, if we cross that arrow, I'd love to find out if, if this breaks up, I'd love to find that out. I'd love to be alerted when that happens because this could be a fantastic trade and will be a fantastic trade when it's ready to go. So, and then another thing too is just knowing that there's demand right here. There's definitely a demand zone that might be worth right here. There's also a demand zone in this area, right? So we're getting close on this. It's all about your timing and doing it correctly, right? But as soon as this breaks up, I'll give you an example. If this breaks up out of here, any pullback back to a support, I'm buying. I'm totally buying that. Absolutely. Like that would be the way out of here. Okay. But until that happens, if this thing just keeps slicing down, I don't want to touch it. Right. And this is where a lot of people who trade really any strategy get burned is they don't wait for their confirmation. They don't wait for their entry and they just get burned in the process. Right. So know that this is definitely on the watch list, something worth looking into. Likely will be a good trade, but until it lines up and shows that strength, we let it just continue to burn. Just let it burn to the downside until it in fact gives us that confirmation, right? So, okay. Let's see. I didn't want to do that. I just want to delete this. That was so me. Oh yeah. No, you're good. I'm guilty of it too. That's why I bring this stuff up, right? Like I've definitely been there, Mohammed, with this style of trading. And I still make mistakes all the time. But I feel like for me, I know that there's opportunities every day with the COT report. And it's just all a matter of looking up the currencies, looking up to see those opportunities and getting ready for it. So we'll probably talk about this one tomorrow in live trading. We'll talk about it, especially if it breaks up. Oh, yeah. This would be a great price action trade if it breaks that trend line. Absolutely. Let's see. Says I was always trying to get sniper entries on everything, so I'd force it. Yeah, no, totally. And that's the thing. We could just place a buy down here, but maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe that's not a great idea I think the best trades are wait for it to actually break the structure and then pile in, right? So if this happens tonight, let's say this happens where it breaks above this line or these couple of lines. If that happens, oh yeah, it's go time. Definitely go time. And my guess is when that happens, the banks are going to come back for their positions, the trade, because we know that they're losing money on these. They took buys up here. We know that we caught them red-handed. They're definitely losing on this. And this is perplexing to a lot of people. They're like, how could the banks be losing? I thought they only make money. No, oh my gosh. Do you know how many drawdowns the banks hold? They hold all the drawdowns, right? Like, I mean, that's what happened to Silicon Valley Bank within the bond market. They bought all these bonds at premium prices. And then when rates went up over the last couple of years, those bonds became worth 75 cents on the dollar. And so when everyone came rushing in for their capital or for their deposits, they had to force sell bonds at prices that were 75 cents on the dollar. And people got word of that, and the bank went under in 3 days. So yeah, banks make mistakes. It's important to understand that banks make mistakes, and when they do, that's actually a huge opportunity for us to see them losing money because they're pretty good at recovering their bad trades. They're actually really good at it, and so once they give us the green light to recover, then let's go for it. Let's wait for that break of structure and let's get in on the first retrace and get after it. All right, guys, I think that's about it. I think it's been a good webinar. We'll cut it off right here. So I don't see any other questions, but we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And we got live trading in the morning, so I'm sure we'll have some more trades we'll take in there. So appreciate each one of you. Have a fantastic rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys in the next webinar. Thanks for coming.